Evening, my friends. So, what is the topic for tonight? The topic tonight is we are going to be looking under the hood. You know, my friends, if somebody comes up to you and asks you about current events, and they ask you about, can you explain to me why, you know, what is happening, and you explain to them, well, because of this and because of that, because this guy did this and because this guy did that, and that led to that, and that's why they're doing this, and that's why I think they're doing that, and this is my opinion of that. What you're basically doing, in effect, when you're giving them that answer, is you are essentially telling them, it would be like if somebody came to you and asked you, how does my car run? Your car runs because, and you tell them the answer, your car runs because you press the gas. No, that's not why your car runs. Your car runs because there is something inside of it that makes it run. And 99% of the people, unless you're a mechanic, and a really good one, you don't really understand what makes a car run. You can say, oh, it's the engine, it's this, it's the pistons, it's that. You don't really understand, unless you're a mechanic, one of the few people whose profession it is to know these things. You don't know what makes a car run. You don't, and you don't know how all of the machinery works in concert to make it run. Right? The complexity of it all. What does that mean? That means that in reality, current events is run by something else. And my friends, I'm here to tell you that in the Jewish lens, or the Jewish view of things, history has one goal, has one end game. That end game is obviously not for the world to explode or go to bitty pieces or whatever, I don't know, Christian eschatology things or whatever Muslim eschatology things. The end game is basically peace on earth, the elimination of what's called sheker, lies, truth to reign, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, to be completely eliminated, and for the world to know Hashem intimately, to see Hashem in everything, to see why, essentially, when our sages talk about what Mashiach is, the time of Mashiach, this is exactly what they're talking about. That's the end game, really. So, with that said, my friends, we understand, and I think today, almost every rabbi worth their salt, whether they say it publicly or privately, will tell us that we are living in the era of Mashiach. I mean, just look around you. Forget about even the election stuff and everything. Forget about and they were saying this even before COVID. They were looking at everything that was happening, society, economics, everything that's happening in the modern world. If you look at the Gemara, the Talmud, it talks about, children being chutzpahdik, chutzpah with their parents. The lack of what's called kibbud abayim, the lack of respect for your elders, respect for your parents. It's rampant in society. Immodesty, sexual immodesty, just impropriety, financial, just lies, and people accepting, not only people that lie, but society being demoralized to the point where we accept lies, and we are cool with it. We just kind of let it roll off our back, right? And this is what our sages spoke about thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, and we're living in it. We're in it. And you guys may say, well, we're not the first generation to think we're in Mashiach, and blah, blah, blah. My friends, I'll tell you, we had sages that said, in the Gemara, even sages in the Middle Ages, even sages in, a few hundred years ago, they said the following. They said, let Mashiach come, I just don't want to be around for that. I don't want to be around for when that happens. And my friends, again, look around you. I mean, I don't have to tell you. So, with that being said, um, so now we turn our attention to what's happening in America, not in the world in particular, but in America specifically. And you guys might be wondering, okay, so we had this guy as president for the last 4 years. His name was Donald Trump. And again, love him or hate him, we can basically understand that Donald Trump, and I'm making like a bold statement here, and I'm actually saying this in the name of Rabbi Kessin. Donald Trump is essentially what is called the Tov Sheb Esav, the good part of Esav. What does that mean? It means that for centuries, if not millennia, the Western world, different incarnations of it, different versions of it, what you want to call Edom, Esav, Rome, Western civilization, Europe, what have you, basically tormented, I'll use the word tormented, the Jewish people. Not only tormented, but the Jewish people were not able to do what's called the tikkun. They were not able to, for example, come back to their land, practice freely Judaism. And so, so now we fast forward to America. America is a place where I think out of any Western nation, out of any nation that was ever in power or was a hegemon, let's put it that way, I think it's probably been the most benevolent nation overall, all in all, by and large, for better or worse, to the Jewish people, right? So I guess we could say that overall, America has been what's called Tov Sheb Esav, the good part of Esav. However, there have been certain things that, American leaders have been doing to hamper the progression of the Jewish people. Namely, you're talking about, we know that American leaders asked us to do the two-state solution and give up land for peace and all these kind of things. So now we have this president, all of a sudden, he is elected, 4 years ago, he's elected in a very miraculous fashion, no matter how you slice it. If you're a hater or a lover, it doesn't really matter. And it's a shock. And so what does he do? This, very typical Esav figure. You look at the guy, he's got red hair, red face, Esav described as red. Carrot, you call him Carrot. He comes along and he says, okay, Jerusalem belongs to the Jewish people. The Golan Heights belongs to the Jewish people. In some roundabout way, in the end, he basically essentially said Judea and Samaria belongs to the Jewish people. We are afraid to annex it or declare sovereignty. That's a different conversation. Right? So he's come along and he's done that. And these are all things that are basically are part of what's called the Messianic process, and they are part of what's called the Tikkun. The Jewish people are now on their way to doing the Tikkun. So now, my friends, there's an idea in Hashkafa, in Jewish philosophy, that it's not that simple. The Tikkun cannot just happen, it's called Stam, just like that. Hashem, so this is very kind of a deep idea. You guys need, in order to understand this, you guys need background in both Jewish philosophy and Kabbalah there's a bevy of books written about this topic, both reward and punishment, and also what's called Din and Rachamim, which is judgment and mercy. Bad translations, but that's basically the gist of it. So Hashem cannot just, gift the Jewish people these things, right? Why? Because the Jewish people have, they have merits, but they also have sins. They also have things that are going against them. And so Hashem since probably the dawn of time, he essentially created or formulated this mechanism. For lack of a better term, we're going to call it the mechanism the Satan, and that the mechanism's job is to exact judgment or prosecute the world, and by extension the Jewish people, or vice versa, the Jewish people by extension the world. So now we have the situation where Hashem wants to bring the Geulah, but we have this mechanism that he created called the Satan that is exacting persecution. So in order for Hashem to essentially carry these things out, and you might be asking, like, what do you mean Hashem has to, Hashem can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need to circumvent some sort of thing that he himself created, da 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 da. My friends, I'm telling you, this is what Jewish philosophy says. Go figure, okay? So, otherwise there wouldn't be a system. My understanding of it is that there wouldn't be a system of free will and also reward and punishment. It's a long discussion, but basically Hashem had to install this little mechanism so that there is judgment on the concept of judgment. So what does Hashem have to do? Hashem essentially has to do what's called bribing, or quote unquote tricking the Satan. So I'll give you guys examples from history. One example, you guys look at the state of Israel, the founding of the state of Israel. So Hashem said, okay, this is going to be the beginning of the acceleration of the Messianic process. The Jewish people are going to come back to the land of Israel. Okay, the Satan says, well, that can't happen. So Hashem says, again, folks, this is a conversation that's happening between Hashem and this thing that he created called the Satan, right? So Hashem says, okay, fine. Let it be that the state of Israel, the Jewish people start coming back en masse in the 1800s, and then the state of Israel is essentially formulated and created by people who, for lack of a better explanation, they hate Torah. They hate religion, they hate Torah. Anti-religious people. Right? And the Satan says, okay, fine, cool. Where's this so-called Jewish state going to go if the people who created it are anti-religious? But my friends, we see that it's not so cut and dry. We have religious people here. We had some of the people who created the state who were kind of pro-Torah, traditional. We had the people who came over in the 1800s to the state of Israel before the state was created. For the first 60 years were Orthodox. You had the Hasidic Jews, Yemenite. It's not so simple, right? So essentially, the Satan was bribed, but at the end of the day, there are more merits than, so to speak, negative characteristics, and we are where we are. Here we are, right? That just goes to show that's one instance of where Hashem basically bribed or tricked the Satan. There's another instance. You guys look at something, that came into the world, I think, if you want to say in the Middle Ages, some people say that it came in even before that. You're talking about Kabbalah. Kabbalah is essentially the study of the secrets of the Torah, and it's basically bringing a huge light into the world, because you're basically studying essentially why we're doing these mitzvot, why we're doing the commandments, right? And so Hashem wanted to bring this into the world because it was time. Okay, comes the Satan and says, no, you can't bring this into the world. It's a huge light. We can't have that, right? So Hashem says, fine. I'm going to bring it into the world, and lo and behold, who gets their hands on it? My friends. You got Kabbalah Center, you got celebrities, you got Madonna, you got all kinds, you got people thinking that Kabbalah is a separate religion, even though it's not. You got all kinds of things where this incredible light comes into the world, and it's basically tainted, right? To the point where we don't even, to the point where if you guys look around the Orthodox world, most of the people in the Orthodox world are afraid to touch it. They're afraid to touch Kabbalah with a 10-foot pole because, it's dangerous in the wrong hands. It's they don't even want to deal with it, because they're afraid. They're afraid of what happened with Shabtai Tzvi and all these kind of things, So that's another second example where essentially the Satan has to be tricked to bring something incredible into the world, to bring something that, not just incredible, something that progresses the Geula messianic process. And the third thing, my friends, is the internet. Hashem comes along and says, okay, I'm going to create the internet to spread Torah all over the world. This is a straight up prophecy, Before Mashiach, the Torah will cover the world like the waters of the sea. Comes along the Satan and says, we can't have that. So Hashem says, okay, we're also going to have, I'm not even going to name what we're going to have on the internet, okay? Which is like, they did a statistic, this stuff that shall not be named is like 80% of the content on the internet. Right, my friends? So now we understand that this is what Hashem has to do. So now we come back to Donald Trump. My friends, look around you. Look at the media. Look at the Democratic Party. Look at 90% of the people that are, out there in the media, in politics, anywhere, who are commenting about this person, who have been commenting about this person for the past 4 years, not only commenting about him, but attacking him without any shreds of evidence, without any, basically declaring him guilty before any verdict came in. And then it turns out that, all the things that they accused him of, they themselves did. Just a barrage and a barrage and a barrage and a barrage and a barrage. My friends, this is what Hashem had to basically bribe the Satan with. Hashem said, I want to bring this Tov Sheb'Yosef into the world so that he can help the Jewish people. And Satan, and then he said, but it's going to be this guy who a lot of people, even including the people that are going to vote for him, are not going to personally like as a personage. They're not going to like his personality. They're not going to like his gaiva, his arrogance, his pride, or the way he talks, the way he tweets. It's like again, I mentioned, like in the movie Boiler Room. Tell me you don't like my flippin' necktie, but don't tell me you can put together, $2,000. We don't even like his necktie. We don't even like his suit. Some of us. And this is the trade-off. But this person, you can argue all you want. This person has been essentially participating in the Geula process. And now we see again, in this election, my friends, I'm not going to go over this. I'm not here to be a representative of the RNC here, but we understand. We can look at stuff coming out, not in the most of the mainstream sources, but and again, this is not conspiracy. This is something. These are legal processes that are happening in Pennsylvania and in Michigan and other states. We understand that there were people who basically did sinister things to get this guy out. And these people are connected to the Satan, and the Satan is dying. And when the Satan is dying, if you guys ever seen, the movie, what is it called? Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm melting. As it's melting, as she's melting, she's saying she's melting. And she's screaming, what have you done? What have you done? This is what is essentially what these people are doing. And you come to them and you say, well, I have evidence. They keep asking for evidence. I have evidence. You shove it in their face. Sometimes I think you shove it in their face so close you can't even see it. It's like right here, right? It's up, like in your face. And they say no. Fake news. They say conspiracy theory. Just deny. My friends, when you have a situation where people are presented with the truth and they cannot see it, we understand that the Satan has blinded their collective eyes. We understand that. We understand that this is something ethereal, metaphysical, whatever word you want to use. This is not logical. This is not even to do with politics. This is something else, my friends. Okay? It's interesting. Rabbi Kessin mentioned there was a mistake that Trump made when he came in. Right away, he said, one of his main slogans is, I'm going to drain the swamp. So, I don't know if you guys know anything about Jewish halacha, Jewish law. There's a law in warfare that, and the Rambam talks about this, and also Ramban, Nachmanides, they both say that when you, and it's derived from one of the mitzvot, about mitzvahs of war, Milchamet Mitzvah, they talk about when you are, You have an enemy, you're in a battle, you are not allowed to surround your enemy on 4 sides. You can only surround them on 3 sides and leave the third side open so that, whoever wants to escape can escape. Why is that? Because it's just logic. When you surround somebody on 4 sides, they have, adrenaline gets pumping, and they're even more energized to fight back. So essentially, the mistake, quote unquote, it's not really a mistake. It's a quote unquote mistake that Trump did, was basically he announced that I'm going to corner you people on all 4 sides. He announced his intentions, and these people were like, "Oh, really? You're going to drain us? You're going to drain the swamp that's been around for years and years and years?" Not so fast there, Mr. Carrot Man. And you see these people are going berserk. Russia, Ukraine, this, that, like, it doesn't end. It really, really doesn't end. Just 1 second, guys. So now, I just had some notes here, and I'm just trying to, kind of put things together here. What does it say? Okay. So now, my friends, now that we are where we are, now that we understand what's going on, now we basically have, going forward, we have 3 options, 3 things that can happen, basically. And this is per Rabbi Kessin. The first option is we can have a situation where Trump, and his team of lawyers and his staff and his campaign, they go through the legal process. We have recounts. We have, we find impropriety, open impropriety. We have beyond the shadow of a doubt. And Trump makes a second miracle. He makes a Hanukkah miracle, and he's reelected for the second time. Or he's elected for the second time. And essentially he stays in, and then he becomes what Rabbi Kessin called Trump Unleashed. Then he starts just, he goes after all the people that he was supposed to go after, who he's trying to go after, for things that I'm not even going to mention. This is a separate video. So that's the first option, right? That's the first option. The second option is that Trump doesn't do that, and that Biden becomes a president, but the Senate ends up being Republican. Hashem basically says, okay, you know what, the Senate's going to be Republican, the House there's going to be enough seats in the House to basically mitigate everything Biden wants to do, even though Biden's going to want to do a lot of things with, or he will be able to do a lot of things with executive order, but there's a lot of things that will be mitigated, except for stuff concerning Iran, the Iran deal and Palestinian Authority, unfortunately. But so that's the second option. The third option is, God forbid, the Senate will go Democrat, the Congress, House of Representatives will go Democrat, and basically Iran will flourish, the Palestinians will flourish. You guys don't want to know what's going to happen domestically, and all these things. But, my friends, just understand, this is not about Republican and Democrat. This is not about me being a hack or a partisan or this or that and the other. This is just about the Geulah for the world and the Tikkun of the Jewish people. The Jewish people are the nation that have to do the Tikkun so that the Geulah can come. This is what it's all about. If you say, well, that's so presumptive, that's so, sanctimonious, that's so ethnocentric, my friends, I don't really know what else to tell you. Either you're accepting what I'm saying and you're watching what's going on in the world and you're putting it together and you're saying, okay, this makes sense, or you're saying this is a whole pile of BS and this guy's a clown and he has to go, or whatever, or you like the president and you think he's wonderful and okay, there was fraud and we have to fight it and whatever, we have to fight communism, blah blah blah. My friends, these are all surface things. There's a whole bigger narrative here, or the whole bigger story. The story is the Jewish people have to come home. We have to come back to the Torah. In looking at the world, who's basically forgotten about Hashem, forgotten about Forget about the Torah. I'm talking about just forgot about what that Hashem is even real, a real thing, entity. I don't want to say thing because that's what Biden says. You know, and it's really our fault. It's the fault of the Jewish people, my friends. We have a schism in the Jewish nation. We have Jews who are connected to Hashem, who are connected to the Emes, right? To the Emet. It comprises maybe 10% of our nation, 15% of our nation. I'm just assuming, the people who are Shomer Shabbat, Shomer Mitzvot, maybe more people who are traditional, but, And then you have people like, these guys who get hired by the, Obama administration. These Jews, who are like what's called Ginos, Jews in name only, right? Where they are going to be the last generation of their family to be Jewish. Their kids are not going to be Jewish. As opposed to if you look at Trump, again, back to Trump and the Tikkun, Trump has, there's a joke, Trump has more Jewish grandchildren than half of Manhattan. I mean, it's a joke, but it's a fact. So, my friends, this is not about politics. This is about something deeper, and that's why we see this just battle that's full of hatred and full of antagonism and full of lies and full of manipulations and just anger and just like people not accepting, like I literally had a conversation today. I just show people facts, like, I don't know, a website that has statistics of something, voter statistics, voter fraud, I don't know, signed affidavits from people, testimony, I don't know, information about some like machines that, whatever, different things. And people are just like, fake news, lies, this, that. My friends, again, this is not about I'm a Republican, they're a Democrat, I'm this, I want to win, they want to lose. This is not about that. It's not about power. It's about something else. It's about, and I mentioned this before in a previous video, there's a lack of emet, there's a lack of truth, there's a lack of understanding of truth, there's a lack of acceptance of truth, there's a lack of morality. When people are demoralized, you can show them the truth like this. You guys ever seen the comedian Eddie Izzard? He's talking about like if Mars gets so close to Earth, he's like, Mars is like, you show him a piece of paper, like that. Nothing. Like you can't, as I tell my friends recently, you're basically trying to describe colors to a blind person. This is where we're at. We're trying to describe colors to a blind person. Why? Because the Satan, the Sitra Achra, what's called the dark, literally the dark side, it's like if you guys ever seen Star Wars, these are not the drones you're looking for. What election fraud? What fraud? Like, I don't know. But, my friends, the point is that there really is no point to engage in showing people these things, because you have to let this whole process play out. You have to let this story play out, because right now the Satan is trying to persecute the Geulah process, the Jewish people, but at the same time, as he's persecuting and he's trying to get what's called life force, the Satan is dying. That's why you see all these illogical just things coming out. All of these like unhinged, you're seeing these riots, you're seeing this, Antifa and this and that, people boarding up their stores, accusations of stuff that they themselves did, people saying, we have to, calling their enemies like the worst thing since, I don't know, Hitler, but at the same time, now we have to have unity. And if you don't have unity, we're going to make lists of you. My friends, the Satan is dying, but as it is dying, it's going to scratch and claw and fight to the bitter end, beyond all logic, beyond all reason, like in an unhinged, like a chicken with a head cut off. My friends, this is what we're witnessing right now. And, like, listen, if I were you guys watching, I wouldn't argue with anybody. I wouldn't show anything to anybody. I wouldn't post anything. I wouldn't respond. I wouldn't comment. You see a comment, don't respond to the comment. All you need to do is just wait. You guys ever read the book Sun Tzu, Art of War? Just wait. Grab the popcorn, grab your favorite wine, your favorite whiskey, whatever you want, food, I don't know, chocolate, this, that. Relax and just wait. My friends, I'm telling you, I was just talking to my friend and business partner yesterday, and he told me some stuff. I'm not going to get into it now, but he said, listen, man, we're in it. Just like the people who were in World War II were in a, I mean, they were in a physical war. They were in, that was their era, so to speak, to live through and to witness and to participate in and to shine and to, unfortunately a lot of people also lost their lives so we can have freedom. He goes, this is our, we're living in history, my friends. We're living in history. And but at the same time, we have to realize that it's history, but it's, as Rabbi Schloss likes to say, it's his story. Who is he? It's Hashem, and he's bringing this. He's accelerating it. He's accelerating the process like you would not believe, my friends. And I was, a lot of people were saying this even before COVID hit, and then when COVID hit, we were like, okay, now we're talking, now we're in it, now we're in it to win it. And my friends, we only see that the Satan is, he definitely was, Hashem definitely bribed him, or tricked him, or placated him, but at the same time, it's dying. It's dying, and as it's dying, it's fighting, and ultimately it's not going to win. It's not going to win. So, alright, my friends, I hope I kind of went through the basics here. Just understand a lot of the stuff I went over and I explained. First of all, I kind of condensed what Rabbi Kessin said in his last lecture. I think this is like 30 minutes. The only thing I don't agree with is the watch and wait, but do not fight for the... Yeah, no, you have to fight for telling the truth. You do, Marcel Degenet. You have to fight for telling the truth. But I will tell you that sometimes, you have to tell the truth, meaning put the truth out there into the world. You're right. But what I'm saying is, if you're talking to somebody and who's convinced that, the world or this situation is Y, and you're telling them X, and X is the truth, and they're refusing to accept the truth, then at some point you just have to say to yourself, well, blah. Like, there's nothing else you can do. Yeah, you have to put the truth out there for the people who are, just either on the fence or don't have a dog in the fight, essentially. But ultimately, if there are some people who, if they've decided that this is the way that it is, or they watch a certain media source that tells them like this, and they convince themselves of that, and you come and bring actual evidence to the contrary, real evidence, not conspiracy or anything like that. I maybe convinced one person, and even then, that person told me, well, they're not going to overturn. It's pointless, my friend. It's pointless. It's all but pointless, almost. So I was just saying, my friends, that everything I just went over, not only was a kind of a condensation of what Rabbi Kessin said the other night, it requires a lot of, you guys have to learn Jewish philosophy. You have to learn what the writings of the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. You have to learn the writings of you have to learn Kabbalah. There, Rizal, Zohar, Netanya. I can recommend some books, but these are all books that talk about. Rav Dessler, Miktav Eliyahu, Eliyahu Dessler. These are all books that talk about, for example, why do the righteous suffer and the wicked prosper? Why do good things happen? Bad things happen to good people. Why is there, talking about reward and punishment, din and rachamim, things like reincarnation, all these different calculations, heshbonot, that we don't really understand. But if we read Jewish philosophy, and if we study this deeply, we'll start to understand how all these things work. And Rabbi Kessin is actually a master at this. He's mastered Ramchal, who's one of the foremost writers about this topic. That's basically it. Yeah, Marcel Degenet. Yeah, we do speak the truth. In the meantime, the event that is coming will come. Yeah, exactly, man. It's, at the end of the day, it's up to Hashem, really, to bring it the way that He wants to bring it, and however it's going to work out. But anyway, okay, my friends, I hope I didn't jumble these ideas too much. I try to give it over as best as I can. listen, for those of you who think that this is hogwash, okay, listen, but you can go back in time 4 years at least, if not the founding of the State of Israel, if not all these other things that I mentioned about Kabbalah and the what is it called, and the internet and all that stuff. You look at how Trump came in. Again, like him or hate him, look at what's been happening the last 4 years. Look what's happening now, and you can basically corroborate what I just said to these events. And for lack of a better term, they check out. They really do. So. Okay, my friends, it's been a very long, emotionally draining week, intellectually draining, and I think, so next week I'm traveling to, God willing, to New York, to the belly of the beast, and I'm going to be with my family, visit my family, and so we'll see what happens. Going to make some nice videos. I upgraded my camera. Going to try to connect an SLR camera to this live feed, and so it's going to be a little bit better than the quality you guys are seeing now. And the quality's not so bad, but it could be better. Alright. So those of you watching, Shabbat Shalom, and I will catch you guys very, very soon.